Hello, my friends. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've come out with a video, and apologies, life got in the way. I had a bunch of school assignments. I was on vacation for like a month, and then more school assignments. And then, let's be honest, time has been going by way too fast lately. So here we are in the middle of September. How that happened already, who knows? But I'm here to talk to you about what I will be reading in September. So let's get into it. Thank you for sticking with me through my little hiatus and or welcome to my channel. And I'm excited to share with you what I'll be reading. So I'm going to be taking part in the best readathon of the year, the Magical Readathon by G at Book Roast. This is basically kind of like a year-long role-playing readathon where you create a character that goes to an academy and has to complete classes which have certain book prompts in order to sort of pass the semesters. So you choose a sort of job or a degree. You have to read books that correspond to certain prompts for your calling, and then you get to pass the semester if you read all the books for those prompts. There's two different semesters, one in the springtime and now one in the fall. So my calling that I've chose for the past couple of years is the Mind Mender. And the prompts that I have to fulfill for this is I have to get an O in spells and incantations, a D in psionics and divination, and a Q in restoration. So those are just the different grades that I have to get, and there's a different number of prompts for each class. G has also introduced a new feature this year for where we can use certain points called the guild reputation point in order to buy magical scrolls, where we can exchange prompts if we don't really like the prompt, or we can exchange different prompts or count DNFs and all of that stuff. So I will be letting you know if I'll be using any of those. So the first prompt that I need to fulfill is an O in spells and incantations, and this is Charm, Dancing Stars. And the prompt for this is a 5-star prediction. And this has really taken me a long time to come up with an answer for this, because I'm intimidated by a lot of 5-star predictions, because I feel like there's a sort of expectation that like it needs to fulfill. So I'm like, but what if I hate it? But we gotta try it anyways. So this took me a while to sort of come up with contenders for this that aren't super long and starting super dense series. So with what I can handle right now, I think the contenders for this, again, I'm kind of giving myself options for what I want to pick up. The first contender is Bunny by Mona Wad. I've had this for a couple years now, and it seems like such a mindfuck kind of book where you really don't know what you're going to get into this, because I just hear that you're supposed to go into this book blind, not really knowing anything about it, and then the surprises and the twists will come, which is like my favorite part of a book, is having like really good plot twists. So with this, the only thing I know is this follows a sort of sorority group in a college of these girls that are kind of like mean girls, and they call themselves bunnies. And the main character is somehow like drawn to them, even though she seems like a polar opposite. And it's kind of just like a cult clique or something. And then shit goes down. I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna go into this blind, so there's not really much else that I can tell you about it. But this is contender number one as a 5-star prediction. And the next one is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. And I first heard about this from Katie Marie's channel. Again, I don't really know much about this, but the way that she described it immediately drew me in, where it's kind of like a gothic style, again like a cult, where there is this university, is very, very prestigious university that kind of forces you to give up the outside world in order to attend the university, but then it guarantees you success. So people who want to go to this university would have to give up family, friends, television, music, even their personal clothing, and but it promises a future of sublime power and prestige. So I don't really know what to expect going into this, but it's a gothic, culty, dark academia, and honestly, that's all I need. So the next class that I have to fulfill is psionics and divination, and for this I need to fulfill all 3 prompts. So to get the first grade O, the prompt is Rewind Time, a favorite author's debut book. And for this, I was immediately thinking of Brandon Sanderson and how I think his debut is Elantris, and I really want to get through his whole Cosmere, but I feel like even though it's a standalone, it's a lot. Like, Brandy Sandy brings in like a lot. I don't really know if I'm ready for another Brandon Sanderson book right now. given the fact that this has been on my TBR for many a months now, and I still haven't started it. I'm sorry. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we'll see. I was trying to see who else is a contender as my favorite author, and it turns out I already have the debut book of J. Kristoff. I've never ever seen anyone on BookTube talk about this. This was released in 2012, so it's quite a backlist, and this is a Japanese-inspired steampunk novel by J. Kristoff. Like, can it get much better? I don't know. I don't know. This sounds like exactly up my alley, and this is basically about a young girl named Yukiko. Yes. Yukiko and her family is a family of hunters, and this is in a sort of dystopian world where lotus flowers and lotus leaf has been cultivated in order to use every part of the lotus to fuel machines and advance the technology and all that. But the pollution from this has destroyed the world pretty much, and it's changed the color of the skies, it's changed the quality of the soil, everyone has to wear masks and goggles, and so it's becoming a very, very polluted world that's hard to actually live in because all of the animals have been hunted and are dying. But basically, the plot of this is that her family of hunters has been assigned by the shogun to hunt down a griffin. And the griffins are thought to have been extinct for many years now, but this is a command from the shogun. So it's either you find the griffin or you die. So it's basically her journey. I don't really know what else the plot has to offer, but I am very excited about this because I've been wanting to read this for a long time. And Jay Kristoff, like, peak writing. I love his writing. The next prompt is getting a Q in psionics and divination. The topic is significance of recurrence, and the prompt is the same letter appears in the title 4 or more times. Now, this was difficult. A lot of titles that I have on my shelves have letters that appear 3 times, maybe, but finding 4 was difficult. What I'm choosing for this is The Children of Gods and Fighting Men by Shauna Lawless. I was very recently recommended this. I didn't really think that I would be interested in it, but I realize that like the sort of historical fiction that's a lot like Game of Thrones is very, very appealing to me. But this one has much more of a pronounced sort of magical element inspired by ancient Ireland. So there are these 2 sort of breeds of immortals that have always been fighting against each other. Like one is sworn to kill the other and hunt them down. And so one is called the Fomorians, who have sort of firepower, and then another are the Tuat, excuse my pronunciation, but the Tuatha and they have a bunch of different powers, I believe, but one of the main characters we're following is a healer. This is basically following this character whose son is rising to become the king of Dublin, and it's following them going to war against different countries that are all vying for power in order to take over Dublin and Germany and some other Viking regions. It's full of fantasy and history and politics, and I'm very intrigued to see about the influence of the Irish mythology, and I'd definitely be interested to learn more about the roots of the Irish mythology. And the next prompt that I have is the topic is getting a D in psionics and divination. The topic is Introduction to Tarot, and the prompt is base your book pick on randomly generated tarot card symbols. And so I used my trusty Hush Tarot deck, and I pulled the Knight of Wands, and as you can see, the image that came up was a young woman or warrior riding on a cardinal. And there's so much bird imagery in my tarot deck. So for this, I am finally choosing to get to This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El Mokhtar. And this is a dystopian sci-fi romance, pretty much, where there are these 2 women on opposing sides of a time war, and they send each other messages somehow through little treasures that the other one finds, and it develops into a love story. It's a very short book as well, so hopefully that will be relatively fast for me to get through. The next topic that I have to pass is restoration, and to get an O, the topic is Night Dew, and the prompt is Night Sky on cover. So for this, I'm going for an audiobook, and I don't know if the hold will be available when I need it to be this month, but I really want to get to The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitase. But if I can't get to that one, then I might go for Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. So, The Deep Sky is a sci fi mystery, I believe. This is basically set when the Earth is going through environmental collapse. So they send some graduates in a competitive program to give birth to a generation of children in space. But then a bomb kills people on the spacecraft, and the only surviving witness immediately becomes a suspect. And so they just have to unfold the mystery, see what happened. The other option is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, and this is basically like a haunted house story about this woman that just gives birth and she becomes paralyzed, and her and her family move into an apartment in New York, but something's not quite right with the apartment. I would definitely love to give this a try. I've read from Nat Cassidy before, and I really enjoyed Mary. It was full of quite interesting twists and turns that I didn't really expect. So I'm hoping that I'll find some interesting plot twists in this book as well. And the next prompt for restoration is a Q, where the topic is dangerous plants and the prompt is poisonous plant on the cover or title. Now, unfortunately, I feel like this was way too restrictive and specific, and the only thing that I could really think of for this is The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten, but that's a really long book, and I know I'm just not gonna get to it, and I don't really want to right now. So I am using a magical scroll to exchange prompts, and instead I'm going to go with a topic from demonology. And the topic is Oh, the Unfamiliars, and the prompt is a person who does not read for fun picks a book for you. So I just sent a picture of my bookshelves to one of my friends, and he just randomly chose, based on just the title, and chose, sorry, the reflectiveness is crazy, Into the Crooked Place by Alexandra Christo. So I've seen that some of her newer books have been talked about on BookTube, but I've never seen this one. I've never seen this one talked about online. This was, oh, it was published in 2019, so that's really not that long ago. But, oh, there's a little bat. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, this is adorable. This is basically just about a ragtag group of crooks. Um, a busker who does dark magic, a gangster, a gangster who grew up on the streets, a warrior who makes a name for herself in the fighting rings, and a resistance fighter hiding from people who destroyed her family and wants to get revenge. Like, okay, that sounds so good. And basically, there is a vial of dark magic that has been put into the wrong hands, and these four need to come together to save the world. So, I believe this is a duology. Yeah, I definitely look forward to reading this. I honestly don't really know how much of these I am going to finish and get through, but then hopefully I can still use some magical scrolls to pass the semester. But yeah, these are all of the prompts that I need to fulfill in order to pass the semester as a mind mender. If you are participating in the Magical Readathon, please let me know what your calling is, what your character is, and what books you're reading for your prompts. Feel free to give me any sort of recommendations, or if you'd like to just leave a little emoji, let me know you're here. You can leave a bunny emoji. I hope that you are having an amazing reading month, an amazing month in your life, and that your goals and dreams are being fulfilled. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm hopefully going to be coming back into a relatively regular schedule. If not, bear with me, but I do want to give you a wrap up of all that I read during the summer because there were some good titles and there were some disappointments. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.